U.S. urges China to dissuade Iran from closing Strait of Hormuz. Is this a joke? You bombed Iran. You just bombed Iran. You go ask. Grow up.
We have it. It's another compilation, and I am not here to talk to you about the news that you already know about, but I am here to look into the views of TikTokers concerning this. China is now officially dragged into this, Let's see how this unfolds. But if you're coming across this term for the first time, Strait of Hormuz, I want you to understand what it means. Let's learn together what it is and how does it affect you and how will you be affected. It's not just China, we are all cooked.
The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most geopolitically charged waterways on the planet. Empires fought for it, now global markets depend on it, and at its narrowest point, it's only about 20 to 30 miles wide. Yet, 1/5 of the world's global oil supply flows through it daily. As you can see, there's Iran to the north, and there's the Musandam Peninsula to the south, which is a little exclave of Oman. It's quite tiny here on the map, but you have beady eyes, I've noticed, that juts out from UAE territory. So this narrow throat is the only maritime exit from the Persian Gulf, meaning that there's no other sea route for the vast energy exports of Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iraq, the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain. So it connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman, to the Arabian Sea, and then if the whiteboard was massive, the Indian Ocean. So it's linking Asia, the Middle East, and the global economy. As you might guess, this strait has been contested for millennia by the early Alamites of ancient Iran, the first Persian Empire under Cyrus the Great, Portuguese naval powers, the Ottomans, the Safavids. They all were seeking to control this vital trade artery between East and West. And today, Iran holds tactical control of this northern coast.
After realizing that the havoc that he's causing over here in America was not enough, it was not satisfactory to his soul, Donald Trump decided to go and bomb Iran 3 separate times in 3 separate nuclear sites, right? In the name of Israel, not even in the name of America, but in the name of Israel. Mind you, he bombs Iran 3 times without congressional approval. Yeah, you heard right. Congress did not approve of this. Donald Trump then gets on social media, he gets on his platforms and he starts to brag about said bombings. He literally says, in quotation, monumental damage has been done to all nuclear sites in Iran. And in another post, he ends it off with bullseye. After he does all of that, Donald Trump goes to Iran, yo, listen, you're going to forego any type of retaliation. Otherwise, it's going to get worse, all right? Actually, now is the time for you guys to make peace. Make peace with Israel. That's what Donald Trump said. Iran says, are you out of your fucking mind? Not only do we vow to get retaliation against you, watch this. Iran sends a volley of missiles at Israel in retaliation to the attack the United States started, wounding scores of people and destroying buildings all in Tel Aviv. Iran says, listen, hold up. We're not done though. We're still thinking about what we're going to do to you, United States. Iran is like, listen, I know that you might be bigger than us, you might be stronger than us, you might have more militia than us, but guess what? I know what you care about, America. Oil.
Breaking news on how the table has turned. After Trump bombed Iran, Iran is now threatening to close the Strait of Hormuz, which will skyrocket gas prices and lead to a global recession. Now USA is panicking and they decided to beg China to play diplomacy here and talk to Iran because they are allies. Did I hear that wrong? China. Yes, the exact China that America has slapped a 150% tariff on. And also the exact China that America has been calling peasants 2 months ago. So why on earth will China do anything for America? Now watching this news as a Chinese person is insane because I know my people are petty. So the audacity of Trump's administration to ask China to step in now, it's crazy. It's just like you bully someone for months and now you have caused trouble with someone else and you ask the person that you have bullied before to help you. We all know that is going straight to voicemail.
We've had a tariff war with them. Now you're asking them to help us? Nobody thought that this was a possibility before we went and messed with Iran?
You would think that if you were going to do that, like you should have asked somebody, if we do this to them, what can they possibly do to us? And, we're not just talking about the fact that they could bomb us, whatever. But, what are all the implications? Oh, but you don't have no real Secretary of Defense. You don't have no real generals, because, you fired all the people that had sense. And now they're talking about the possibility of sleeper cells. And your director of counterterrorism is 22 years old and was working at Target somewhere. He was a grocery clerk, Winn-Dixie. Piggly Wiggly, hell, I don't know. I'm just saying. So for all the maggots that was talking about, when he gets in office, let me change the voice. When he gets in office, he's going to lower the gas prices. And, all you libs, we're going to own the libs because he's going to bring down gas prices. Well, them gas prices about to be higher than a mother. High. Sky high. Yeah. I would enjoy the moment, but that means my gas is going to be sky high too. So, all that bull, and the rest of us got to suffer with y'all. This is at the point. Well, I'm going to need y'all to wear y'all red hats in public, so we know exactly who to blame for this bullshit. Anyway, good night.
You can see behind me, gas is $3.69. Yesterday it was $3.39, so it's up 30 cents already. But this just in, they've had a vote in Iran, and they're talking about closing the Strait of Hormuz. Now, if that happens, this will not say $3.69 anymore. It'll say something more like $6 or $7. Yeah, so I'm doing this right now to show you what gas prices are right now, a day after the United States attacked Iran. And now Iran is already talking about closing down the strait, where 25% of the world's oil goes back and forth. And we'll see in a few days if they decide to do just that. We'll see if this says $3.69 for very long. My guess is it'll say $5 or $6 within a week. We'll be here in another week. We'll come right to this spot and see what's going on. If they do close the strait, folks, get ready for really, really expensive gas prices all across the country. Let me know what you think. Like and follow for more.
Why would Iran listen to China? Because China is Iran's biggest oil customer. While the West sanctions Iran, China fuels its economy, and that gives Beijing unique leverage. So here's what's playing out. Iran rattles the strait, the US avoids direct escalation, and China becomes the power broker. That's not quite the diplomacy we hoped for. It's economic triangulation in real time. And yes, I predicted it. This is exactly how asymmetric power games unfold in 2025. But what do you think?
Let's talk about what China has to do with the Strait of Hormuz. It's being reported that the U.S. has talked to China to talk with Iran to please not shut down the Strait of Hormuz. So why would they care? Why are they interested? China is fantastic at a lot of things, and it has become a major manufacturing hub for the world. However, one of the things that it is not great at is producing its own oil. While a good deal of Chinese oil transits over land through Pakistan, a good chunk of it, around 40%, goes through none other than the Strait of Hormuz. We live in a globalized world, and you can't pull on one string without taking apart the whole sweater. That analogy makes sense, I promise. Oil is the primary input for manufacturing, and if China can't get oil, the rest of the world cannot get their manufactured goods.
You probably know by this point that the United States has a level of concern that there are Iranian sleeper cells within the United States that may be activated as retaliation for the United States having bombed nuclear facilities in Iran. Now, there's another way they could go with this. And it seems like it is definitely on the table, at least right now, and that would be for Iran to close the Strait of Hormuz. And you may have heard about this as well. Now, about 20% of the global consumption of crude oil flows right through that narrow strait. If Iran does decide to close the Strait of Hormuz, the problem is that they would actually be hurting one of their closest allies, which is China. Marco Rubio said, quote, "I encourage the Chinese government in Beijing to call them about that because they heavily depend on the Straits of Hormuz for their oil," end quote. And China is one of the biggest purchasers of oil from Iran. So to close that strait, while it may hurt the United States, would also really have a negative impact on their ally, China.
I could be wrong here, but I think China is not allied with any other country. And the reason is that once you are allied with another country, you will be dragged into war that you don't necessarily want to be dragged in. And Chinese, as I mentioned many times before, that peace is such a priority. So why do we want to form ally with anybody? Because we don't want to be dragged into war. You were dragged into war by your ally, Israel. Maybe you shouldn't have that ally. Maybe everybody should rethink having an ally. Because you should always decide for your own. And don't bomb anybody. That's number one. China will try its best to get out of any war, not to be involved in any war. So two of the exceptions, like the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and China was involved mostly because it's border. China doesn't want a bordering state that has enemy base there. So because before Japan invade China, Japan occupied northeast part of China for many, many years. So Japan has army base bordering China, and specifically in Beijing. So one day, the Japan side base just say, "We have a soldier missing. We need to search Beijing to find our missing soldier." What do? Do they let them search or not let them search? Either way, it really doesn't matter because that's an excuse. And then full invasion. So when you are bordering with somebody like Japan, that's the result. So you can't be bordering with the United States because you don't have credit. You bomb people when you don't have evidence of weapon of mass destruction. And you bomb people when you just have report that their nuclear development is nowhere to be the stage that can threaten anybody. But you bomb anyway. You just need an excuse. So China cannot be border with you. So China has to fight for Korea, for Vietnam, so that United States doesn't have a military base right at the door of China like Japan did. And then you will have missing soldiers and China will be done.
I hope you're learning something from this compilation. Whenever I share videos about politics and China is mentioned somewhere as a savior or just involving somewhere, Chinese always say that China does not involve itself in internal matters of countries, But this one, we are all cooked. From the explanation here, China, what do you think? What do you think we should do right here? We know that the President Trump has done so many bad decisions that are really, anyway, they have left us in awe. Like, yeah. So we are now experiencing another one, but this one has messed up with people's life. Yeah, things have really changed. Things have really de-escalated so badly, and there are predictions from different creators on TikTok of this de-escalating even more into the Third World War. There's so many suggestions out there, but I wanted to bring in a Chinese American or Chinese at this point, I don't know, because they're still Chinese. Yeah. So when the nationality changes, they're still Chinese. So we're here, and since they have been dragged into this, let's listen.
If you're worried that the United States attacks China because China supports Iran and then everything's World War III, it's not going to happen, because the thing is that the United States will never directly attack China, and China will never directly attack the United States, because the thing is that both countries are fighting for the number one spot. If both countries fight directly, both of them loses. They will fall down the ranks by a significant amount, and some other countries, maybe a third, fourth, will be the top one, and both the United States and China does not want this. Look at all these kind of countries. All the countries that are fighting right now are the small and mini countries. They're all proxy wars. The two major powers in the world are not fighting. There is a reason. There's a reason why they're powerful. There's a reason why they're smart. One thing that they agree on is to make sure no other countries gets the number one spot. It's either the United States or China. That's it.
I'm sick of it. How to say it in Chinese? 烦死了，烦死了，烦死了。